The spring air was crisp, carrying the scent of blooming flowers and freshly cut grass from our backyard into the sprawling terrace where Linda and I decided to spend our evening. It was one of those rare moments when the chaos of our daily lives seemed to pause, allowing us a semblance of peace, a semblance of normalcy. Our glasses were filled with the rich, amber hue of the vintage wine I had been saving for an occasion that never seemed to arrive. Perhaps, subconsciously, I knew that this evening would be it, the occasion that would unravel the threads of our meticulously woven lives. Linda, with her hair cascading in gentle waves over her shoulders, looked serene in the glow of the setting sun. It was a serenity that belied the turmoil that had become a constant undercurrent in our marriage. As she sipped her wine, I found myself studying her, trying to decipher the thoughts hiding behind those emerald eyes. "Mark, I've been thinking." Linda finally broke the silence, her voice as smooth as the wine we were drinking. "I won't be going to Chicago this year for my shopping trip." The statement, so innocuously delivered, sent a jolt through me. For the past decade, Linda's biannual trips to Chicago were a given, a part of our routine. They were also a lie, a cover for her clandestine meetings with her lover David, a man whose existence I had come to accept as a necessary evil in our farce of a marriage. "Why the sudden change?" I asked, keeping my tone neutral, masking the storm of emotions her words had ignited. Linda shrugged, avoiding my gaze. "I just don't feel like it anymore. Maybe it's time for new traditions." New traditions. The words hung between us, laden with unspoken truths and the weight of a shared history marred by deceit. It was then I decided to confront the elephant in the room, to lay bare the secrets we had both been guarding. "Linda," I began, my voice steady, "I know about David." The glass in her hand paused midair, and for a moment she looked like a deer caught in headlights. Then, as quickly as it came, the vulnerability vanished, replaced by the poised mask I had grown accustomed to. "Mark, I don't know what you're talking about," she replied, her voice laced with feigned ignorance. But I had seen enough. I had seen the truth in that fleeting moment of panic. And with that truth came a sense of liberation, a freedom from the shackles of our mutual pretense. "Linda, let's not insult each other's intelligence. I've known about your trips to Chicago, about David, just like I know about his untimely demise in that botched robbery." The color drained from her face, and she placed her glass on the table with a clink, her composure finally cracking. "Mark, how long have you known?" "Long enough," I replied, the bitterness of years of silent acceptance coating my words. "But what I really want to know is, where do we go from here?" The question hung in the air, a challenge to the facade we had both upheld for so long. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across our terrace, I realized that this unsettling spring evening was the beginning of the end. The end of our lives, the end of our marriage, and perhaps the beginning of something resembling truth. The revelation hung between us like a specter, its presence undeniable yet unacknowledged for so long. As the initial shock faded from Linda's face, replaced by a guarded expression, I couldn't help but reflect on the irony of our situation. Here we were, a couple bound not by love, but by the shared secret of infidelity and betrayal. "I suppose it was naive of me to think it could remain a secret forever," Linda finally said, her voice a mixture of resignation and defiance. "David was a mistake. A series of mistakes. Mistakes that lasted a decade," I pointed out, unable to mask the bitterness in my tone. "Why, Linda, what was so lacking in our marriage that you sought solace in someone else's arms?" Linda sighed, a sound of weariness and regret. "It's not that simple, Mark. Our marriage. It's been more of a partnership than a relationship for years. David was a mistake, but he was also an escape. An escape from the reality of what our marriage had become." Her words stung, not because they were untrue, but because they laid bare the emptiness of our union. We had become experts at playing the roles of the perfect husband and wife, all while ignoring the chasm that had grown between us. "And what about his death?" I asked, steering the conversation to the elephant in the room. Did that not give you pause? Make you reconsider the choices you've made? Linda looked away, a pained expression crossing her face. David's death was a tragedy. It was unexpected, and it shook me to my core. But it also made me realize the futility of it all. The lies, the deceit. It's exhausting, Mark. Her admission caught me off guard. For the first time, I saw a glimpse of vulnerability, a crack in the facade she had so meticulously maintained. So, where does that leave us? I inquired, genuinely curious about her perspective. Are we to continue this charade, pretending to be a happy couple while leading separate lives? Linda met my gaze, her eyes reflecting a turmoil of emotions. I don't know, Mark. I truly don't. I wish I could turn back time, make different choices, but I can't. All I can do is apologize and hope that we can find a way to move forward, whatever that may look like. Her words, sincere yet uncertain, left me with more questions than answers. As the night enveloped us, I realized that the ghost of affairs past would continue to haunt us, a constant reminder of the choices we made and the love we lost along the way. The future of our marriage remained uncertain, but one thing was clear. The path to reconciliation, if there was to be one, would be long and fraught with challenges. The night had deepened, wrapping the terrace in a cloak of darkness, punctuated only by the soft glow of the outdoor lights. Linda and I sat in silence, each lost in our own tumultuous thoughts. The air between us was charged with the weight of our revelations, a tangible reminder of the chasm that had grown between us. It was Linda who broke the silence, her voice barely above a whisper. Mark, do you remember our trip to the Amalfi Coast, the one we took for our 5th anniversary? I nodded, the memory surfacing amidst the sea of bitterness that had engulfed me. Yes, I remember. It was one of the last times I felt truly happy with you. Linda smiled sadly, her gaze fixed on the flickering candle on the table. I felt it too. That trip was a glimpse of what we could have been, of what we lost along the way. The nostalgia was palpable, a bittersweet reminder of the love that had once bound us together. For a moment, I allowed myself to get lost in the memory, to remember the woman I had fallen in love with. Why bring this up now, Linda? I asked, my voice tinged with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Because I want you to understand that my feelings for you weren't always a lie, she replied, her voice steady but laced with emotion. Our marriage, our life together, it wasn't all bad. But somewhere along the way, we lost ourselves, and I made choices that I can't undo. Her admission was a gut punch, a stark reminder of the complexity of our relationship. It wasn't as black and white as I had made it out to be in my head. Yes, there was betrayal, but there was also love, however flawed and tarnished it might have been. Linda, I started, struggling to find the right words. I appreciate your honesty, and I'd be lying if I said I didn't share some of the blame for where we've ended up. I was so focused on my career, on providing for us, that I neglected us. Linda reached across the table, her hand hesitantly touching mine. It was a simple gesture, but one that felt monumental in the context of our conversation. Mark, where do we go from here? She asked, her voice laced with a vulnerability I hadn't heard in years. Is there a path forward for us, or have we gone too far down this road of deceit and resentment? Her question hung in the air, heavy with the potential for both reconciliation and finality. I looked into her eyes, searching for the answer that had eluded us both. I don't know, Linda, I admitted, the honesty of my response surprising even me. But I think we owe it to ourselves to try, to see if there's something worth salvaging from the wreckage of our marriage. Linda nodded, tears glistening in her eyes. I'd like that, Mark. I'd like that very much. As we sat there, hand in hand, I realized that the revelations on the terrace had opened the door to a possibility I had thought long dead. The road ahead would be fraught with challenges, but for the first time in years, I felt a flicker of hope for us, a chance to rebuild from the ashes of our past. The days following our terrace revelations were filled with a cautious optimism. Linda and I had embarked on a tentative journey towards understanding and, perhaps, forgiveness. Yet, The path was far from straightforward, and the shadows of our past transgressions loomed large, threatening to engulf us at any moment. It was during a quiet evening at home, a rare moment of tranquility amidst the storm, that the unraveling began. We were sitting in the living room, each pretending to be engrossed in our respective books, yet keenly aware of the other's presence. Linda broke the silence, her voice hesitant. "Mark, there's something I need to tell you. Something about David." I looked up, a sense of dread settling in the pit of my stomach. "What is it?" She took a deep breath, steeling herself. "David, he wasn't just a fling. He was more serious than I let on. We talked about a future together, about leaving our respective spouses." Her words felt like a physical blow, stripping away the fragile veneer of hope that had started to build between us. A future. I echoed, my voice laced with disbelief and hurt. "You were planning a life with him." Linda nodded, tears welling in her eyes. "I was lost, Mark. I felt trapped in our marriage, and David offered an escape. But his death, it made me realize the gravity of my mistakes. I'm so sorry, Mark. I understand if you can't forgive me." The room was thick with tension, the air charged with the weight of her confession. I struggled to process the magnitude of her betrayal, the depth of deceit that had defined our marriage. "And what about us?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "Was I just a convenient arrangement until you could make your escape?" Linda shook her head, reaching out to me, but I pulled away. "No, Mark. It wasn't like that. You were always more to me, but I was too cowardly to face our problems. I took the easy way out, and I regret it every day." Her words, though meant to offer some solace, only served to deepen the chasm between us. The revelation of her intentions with David cast a long shadow over our attempts at reconciliation. It was one thing to forgive an affair, but quite another to come to terms with the fact that your spouse had planned a life without you. "Linda, I don't know if I can do this," I admitted, the weight of my words heavy in the air. "This isn't just about forgiveness anymore. It's about whether there's anything left of us to save." Linda looked at me, her face a mask of pain and regret. "I understand, Mark. I've hurt you in ways I can never fully repent for. All I can say is that I'm truly sorry, and I'll respect whatever decision you make." The room fell silent, the gulf between us wider than ever. The unraveling of our marriage had reached its inevitable conclusion, leaving us to confront the painful reality that some wounds are too deep to heal. As I looked at Linda, the woman I had once loved beyond measure, I realized that the path forward would be one of solitary reflection, a journey to rediscover who I was beyond the confines of our broken marriage. The days that followed were a blur, each one bleeding into the next, marked by a silence that was both comforting and suffocating. Linda and I had retreated into our own corners, nursing our wounds in solitude. It was during this period of uneasy truce that I stumbled upon a revelation that would alter the course of our already tenuous reconciliation. I had been working late, the quiet of the night offering a respite from the cacophony of my thoughts. As I sifted through a pile of neglected paperwork, I came across Linda's phone, left carelessly on the desk. A message notification lit up the screen, its contents momentarily visible. It was from someone named Jen, a name I recognized as one of Linda's closest friends. The message was innocuous enough, a simple inquiry about their next meeting. Yet, it was the preview of the previous message that caught my eye, a snippet of a conversation that hinted at secrets yet to be uncovered. Driven by a mixture of curiosity and apprehension, I picked up the phone, my fingers hesitating over the screen. With a deep breath, I unlocked the device, navigating to the message thread with Jen. What I found was a detailed account of Linda's feelings and plans, laid bare in a casual conversation with her friend. Linda had confided in Jen about her affair with David, her plans to leave, and, most shockingly, her doubts about our recent attempts at reconciliation. She had written, "I'm trying with Mark, but it's hard. Every time I look at him, I'm reminded of what I've done and what I almost lost for something that now seems so foolish." Feeling like a voyeur into my own life, I continued to read, my heart sinking with each word. I don't know if I can ever make him understand why I did it, and I'm not sure if he can ever look at me the same way again. Maybe it's better to let go before we hurt each other more. The raw honesty of her words was a gut punch, a stark reminder of the chasm that lay between our intentions and our actions. I sat there, Linda's phone in hand, feeling more lost than ever. When Linda entered the room, fighting me with her phone, her expression shifted from surprise to resignation. "Mark, I can explain," she started, but I cut her off. "Do you really believe it's better to let go?" I asked, my voice steady despite the turmoil inside. Linda's eyes filled with tears, and she nodded slowly. "I don't want to, Mark. But I'm scared. Scared that we're holding on to something that's already gone. Scared of hurting you more than I already have." Her admission was a balm and a blade, offering a glimpse into her soul while underscoring the depth of our divide. "Linda, I read your conversation with Jen. Not because I wanted to spy, but because it was there, and I couldn't help myself. And now I'm more confused than ever. Do you want to fight for us, or is this your way of saying it's over?" Linda took a step closer, her voice a whisper. "I want to fight, Mark. But not if it's going to destroy us both. I don't know how to fix what I've broken." Her words hung between us, a testament to the complexity of love and betrayal. As we stood there, on the precipice of a decision that could mend or irreparably break us, I realized that the path forward was not one we could walk blindly. It would require honesty, vulnerability, and, above all, a willingness to confront the darkest parts of ourselves. "Linda, let's start with the truth, all of it, and see where that leads us," I said, offering her my hand, a gesture of solidarity in the face of our uncertain future. She took it, her grip firm yet trembling. "Okay, Mark. The truth." And with that, we began the painstaking process of unraveling the web of lies and half-truths that had ensnared us, each revelation a step towards understanding, forgiveness, or perhaps a final goodbye. The days that followed our mutual confession were a testament to the complexity of human emotions. Linda and I embarked on a series of conversations, each more revealing than the last. We delved into the darkest corners of our relationship, unearthing grievances long buried under layers of silence and pretense. It was during one of these conversations, on a chilly evening that promised the onset of winter, that the decision about our future loomed large, demanding to be addressed. We were seated across from each other in the living room, a space that had witnessed the spectrum of our life together, from the heady days of newfound love to the corrosive silence of estrangement. The air was thick with anticipation, both of us aware that the words spoken tonight could seal our fate. Linda broke the silence, her voice steady, but laced with an undercurrent of vulnerability. "Mark, we've been talking around it for days, but we haven't really faced the question head-on. Where do we go from here? Can we find a way back to each other, or is it time to accept that our paths diverge?" I looked at her, really looked, seeing not just the woman who had betrayed me, but the person I had shared my life with in all her complexity. "Linda, I've been asking myself the same thing, and every time I think I have an answer, doubt creeps in. I'm scared. Scared of making the wrong decision, scared of losing what little we have left." Linda nodded, a tear trailing down her cheek. "I'm scared, too. I've hurt you in ways I can never fully atone for, and I understand if you can't see a way past that. But I also know that I still love you, Mark. Despite everything, I love you, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes to rebuild, if you'll have me." Her words struck a chord, awakening a flicker of hope I had thought extinguished. "Linda, I won't lie and say that the hurt is gone, or that I can forget what happened. But when I think about my life, my future, I still see you in it. Maybe I'm a fool, or maybe it's love. Either way, I'm not ready to let go without giving us one last chance." A moment passed, heavy with the weight of our confessions, before Linda spoke again. "So, what does that look like? Giving us one last chance?" I took a deep breath, considering the question. It means starting over, but not pretending the past didn't happen. It means therapy, individually and together. It means honesty, even when it's painful. And it means patience, with ourselves and each other. Linda reached across the space between us, her hand finding mine. I can do that. I want to do that. Mark, I'm in this, all the way. No more secrets. No more lies. I squeezed her hand, a gesture of unity in the face of uncertainty. Then let's do this, Linda. Let's fight for us, for what we could be. It won't be easy, and it might not work out in the end. But I'd rather face that possibility than live with the regret of not trying. As we sat there, hand in hand, a sense of resolve settled over us. The decision had been made, not in a moment of passion, but with a clear-eyed understanding of the challenges ahead. We were embarking on a journey of redemption, one that promised no guarantees but offered the possibility of a future, rebuilt from the ashes of our past. The road ahead would be fraught with obstacles, moments of doubt and despair. But for the first time in a long while, there was a glimmer of hope, a belief that through the crucible of our pain, we might forge a stronger, more resilient love. And with that fragile hope as our guide, we stepped into the unknown, together. The decision had been made, a commitment to try, to fight for the love that had once seemed unbreakable. Yet, as Linda and I embarked on this journey of reconciliation, we were acutely aware that the path would be anything but straightforward. It was as if we were navigating a minefield, where a single misstep could reignite the flames of past resentments. One evening, as winter relinquished its grip and the first signs of spring began to emerge, Linda and I found ourselves sitting on the back porch, wrapped in blankets, watching the stars. It was a moment of calm, a respite from the emotional turmoil that had characterized our lives for too long. Linda broke the silence, her voice soft but clear. Mark, do you ever think about the future? I mean, really think about what it might hold for us. I turned to look at her, her face illuminated by the soft glow of the porch light. Every day, I admitted. And if I'm honest, it scares me. The uncertainty, the fear of falling back into old patterns. But then I remember why we're doing this, and it gives me hope. Linda nodded, a thoughtful expression on her face. I feel the same. It's like we're walking a tightrope, trying to find our balance again. But I believe in us, Mark. I believe we can find our way back to something even stronger than before. Her words warmed me, offering a sense of reassurance I hadn't realized I needed. I want to believe that too, Linda. And I think part of this new beginning is about letting go of the fear that's been holding us back. Linda reached out, her hand finding mine in the darkness. Letting go of fear. That's easier said than done, but I'm willing to try if you are. I squeezed her hand, a silent vow. I am. And I think another part of this is about rediscovering who we are, both as individuals and as a couple. We've been defined by our mistakes for so long, it's time to start defining ourselves by our efforts to grow, to heal. You're right, Linda agreed. We've been so focused on fixing what was broken that we've forgotten to nurture what still works, what's always worked between us. A comfortable silence settled between us, a recognition of the truth in our words. It was then that I made a suggestion, one that felt like a step towards reclaiming the joy that had once been effortless between us. What if we started a new tradition? Something just for us, to celebrate this journey we're on. It could be as simple as a weekly date night, or something more adventurous. The point is to create new memories, to remind ourselves of why we fell in love in the first place. Linda's smile was like the dawn breaking after a long night. I love that idea. Let's do it. Let's start this weekend. We could go hiking, explore one of the trails we've always talked about but never visited. The plan was set, a small but significant step towards rebuilding. As we sat there, under the vast expanse of the night sky, I realized that this new beginning was about more than just repairing the damage. It was about embracing the opportunity to rewrite our story, to prove that love, when nurtured with patience and understanding, could indeed conquer all. And in that moment, with Linda by my side, I felt a sense of peace settle over me. The journey ahead would be challenging, but for the first time in a long while, I looked forward to facing it together.